pushes way up the racetrack, and now here comes Janzik. Janzik goes by Query, and he goes by Inman. Burnell gets a great run, another 3 wide for the race lead. It's going to drag race off of turn 4. Shepard is there, but it's Larry White at the line. Still going to be Pat Ward, and they make contact. Britton has broken the race car. AJ Slideways. Alan Johnson wins.
Whether you hug the infield tires or rip the cushion, you found the fastest dirt track podcast in motorsports. Welcome to Where Legends Are Made, the official podcast of Land of Legends Raceway. Here's Stephen and Brad Ovens.
Welcome in, Land of Legends fans, to another episode of the Where Legends Are Made podcast. My name is Steve Ovens, the lead announcer at the Land of Legends Raceway, joining you for episode number 5 for the 2023 season. Got a great show planned for you. Clint Miller, my old podcasting buddy from Turn 5 Live, going to join us to go through the full results from last Saturday and offer his commentary. We'll kind of catch up a little bit. We've been good podcasting and racing buddies for a long time. Used to have a great time doing Turn 5 Live. I know there's some listeners that tune into the podcast now that were listeners of us back in the day. So we got the band back together for this episode to make a little radio magic and kind of go through our thoughts from opening night, which was just fantastic. What a great night of racing, a hell of a way to kick it off. And we're about to just take it to another level this week, as you may have seen on Facebook already or on Twitter, the main grandstands are now open. They are finally complete. They've been inspected by both state and local authorities and been given their blessing. We are ready to open the full main general admission grandstand area this Saturday. And if you're listening here on Friday, tomorrow, for Avert Storage Containers Night, featuring the CRSA Sprint cars, which is also sponsored by Avert Storage Containers and powered by SuperGen products and their Champion Power equipment. So looking for a big night this week. I'm going to kind of open the podcast quickly this week, as we've got not only Clint Miller joining us on the program this week, we've also got a new segment and something that I've been looking forward to doing, and that is bringing in personalities from other fellow dirt car tracks, other DIRTcar member tracks, and kind of get a flavor for what everybody under the dirt car umbrella is doing. So we are going to travel east down Interstate 90 and bring on Mia. You may be familiar with Mia for her Malta Minutes with Mia that airs every Friday afternoon from the Albany-Saratoga Speedway. She's going to tell us a little bit about how she got involved in racing, what she does on race night, as well as those awesome videos that she does on race day to kind of let the fans know what's going on, when the gates are opening, all that good stuff. We're really big fans of what Lyle and the whole crew at Albany-Saratoga is doing. So we wanted to kind of start this new segment of featuring some of our brothers and sisters under the DIRTcar banner and kind of highlight what they've got going on. If you've never been to Albany-Saratoga, Mia's going to tell you all about what you need to do when you get there. The featured food item that is kind of every track's got that special thing that they do. And so I want to ask her about what that special food item is at Albany-Saratoga. And again, if you've never been out there before, circle a Friday night on your calendar and get out and see Lyle DeVore and the whole crew there at Albany-Saratoga. We're big fans of what they're doing here at the Land of Legends. So we're happy to kind of start this segment. We've got some other personalities that are going to be joining us in upcoming weeks. I've talked to Craig Kingsbury, one of the announcers at the Fulton Speedway. Would love to get kind of his background in racing, and then let him also highlight what's going on at Fulton Speedway, another DIRTcar member track. So we've got a lot for you on this week's podcast. So let me go ahead and step aside, and when we come back, Clint Miller will join us from Turn 5 Live right here on the Where Legends Are Made podcast, the official podcast of Land of Legends Raceway.
By the grace of God and 800 horsepower, it's time for the A-Main interview of the week.
Well, welcome back, race fans. As promised, we're gonna turn the pages back just a few years here, and an old buddy of mine from the Turn 5 Racing Podcast, Clint Miller, joining us as a guest here this week on Where Legends Are Made. Clint, man, this goes back to days of yesteryear.
Oh man, it does. Like we were saying before we came on, it's just, it all started as a little bit of a dream, a little bit of a, let's give this a shot and see what happens. And we had a lot of successful years together.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad that we could get a chance to do this again. Kind of relive some of those memories from years past. And my goodness, dude, how things have changed. For both of us and both of us in the racing world, when we were back then, we were trying to, cover local races and give racers their due. And, I think that we've really found a hell of a way to do that with Land of Legends Raceway and this podcast and video features and all sorts of cool things. So let's talk some racing, huh?
Oh, I'm looking forward to this. I can't wait.
Well, let's talk. First of all, let's talk about. I know there'll be a lot of listeners this week that used to listen to our program back in the day. So kind of catch some folks that used to be listeners that are listening this week. Catch them up on what you're up to and what you're up to. In terms of racing. And I know you haven't gotten far away from wrenching on cars.
No, not at all. I still turn wrenches and crew chief for my cousin Carl Cleveland. We made our Land of Legends debut this week, like everybody else did, opening night. He hasn't let me get out of that yet. I tried to quit, and he said, "You got me back in this in 09. You're not quitting yet." And so I'm still here. And CJ and I got a pretty successful RC car team that we run. We're kind of part-time right now with lots of stuff going on with school and work, and now racing the big car, and we've really taken to liking that. It's something that him and I can do together and have a good time, and he's way better than I am. I gave him all my good equipment, and I'm just kind of running the has-been stuff, and he's way calmer than I am. And it's good to watch. It's kind of like looking in a young mirror. He looks a little like me, poor kid. And but things are really good. And I think this summer, we're going to bounce around a little more on do some Friday night D&D Raceway. It's off of 104, but not full time, because I think I want to go to Brewerton. I want to travel a little bit on Friday nights. I haven't had that opportunity.
Yeah.
So I think I want to follow D-Pods over to Brewerton, when he gets over there, and just there's just a lot of things that opened on Friday nights that I never had that option to do.
I was gonna say, did Carl have the shakes racing on a Saturday night and looking at possibly doing some more Saturday night racing? He's been a Friday night guy as long as I can remember.
Yeah, I mean, I dating back to, I believe, 85 or 86 or something like that. He started at, then it was Dundee Raceway Park. But no, we've raced part-time the last couple of years, and, it's been kind of hit and miss. And, we've hit the less white shows the last 2 years in Canandaigua. The first year we got the Hard Charger Award, going from 22nd to 7th or something like that. And then we finished third 1 year there in a special race. That was the infamous safety truck race. Josh Pangrazio had such a big lead that he took the checkered flag, and he was going down the backstretch, and we were coming out of 4, so the yellow lights were on, and the pace truck, the best crew in the world, they are. I think they didn't anticipate how far he was ahead of everybody else. And they came right out in front of Jared Hill and Carl. So we ended up third that night.
We still pick on Richie for that.
Well, who knew? Like,
Yeah.
Josh is such a good racer, and his cars are always so fast. And you get 8 or 9. When he starts on the front row, and you get 8 or 9 laps of green flag racing, he's already in half a track ahead of everybody else sometimes. And when the track's right and his car's right, and you just don't know. And of course, we ran a couple of World 100s and didn't have great luck there, but we got a couple top 10s out of it. And funny story before we go on, we did the World 100 last year, and of course Bella, my little girl, she helped us get tires around, and she came out on the track for fuel and air pressure and stuff. And when we checked the tires, they were already almost bald after 50 laps. And we had just spent I don't know how much money over to Woodhull buying 5 or 6 brand new tires. And so they were bald, and Carl goes, "How are the tires look?" They're fine. Good to go, man. Go. I just, we were a 10th place car, and I didn't see, I couldn't see ruining any more tires for a car that wasn't going to go forward anymore, And I'll be darned if he didn't run the best laps of the race the next 10 laps after we went back green. And then he got in a little contact and cut one of the tires down. I think they would have made it. He's a little skeptical about it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, 6th place effort on Saturday night. I don't know what your guys' expectations were going in, but I got to believe you're pretty happy with the 6th place run.
Oh, extremely happy. And I have to tell you, when we went over there, and like you said, we didn't know what to expect. We had a base set up. We had trouble at the shop before we even left. We couldn't get the car started. We had a safety switch issue, so we were like 2 hours behind schedule. And we got over the track. We didn't take anything for chassis adjustments or nothing. We're like, all right, let's just go, get our feet wet, put 20 laps in, and and we'll go from there. And the car was kind of loose in the heat, and it wasn't running right. We get about half it on the straightaway, and it would just kind of cut out. You got to 6,000 RPMs, and it stopped. It wouldn't go anymore. So we made some adjustments for the feature. We put a taller right front tire on it, taller left rear. We went old school. We had like 3/4 of an inch of reverse stagger in the back, and that car handled great. To say the least. I think that's what saved us. It got through the corners so good that the straightaway speed didn't kill us a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, he looked super competitive out there. Really. I think it was him and I think it was him and CJ, or him and Rick Kriego. I mean, they had a great battle going on there. And I remember thinking in my head, man, Carl's having a great night here. Not that you guys haven't had good runs there in the past, but just coming there like on a one-off show, that's a tough thing to do with the field that we have at Land of Legends. So, to come out there and run like he did the other night, I remember thinking in my head while my partner Chris was, talking about somebody else on track, I just remember thinking in my head, boy, Clint and Carl are going to have a big smile at the end of this race.
Oh, yeah, I was, ear to ear, and I saw CJ coming, and, there's a little bit of history there, and we were kind of slowing down a little bit. The rear brakes, started hanging up just a hair, not enough to damage anything, but enough to slow it down, and CJ drove by us on the outside, and, I'm like, oh, okay. All right. We're back to, we're in 5th, or went back to 6th. I'm like, all right, I'll take it. And then Axel Jensen had trouble and dropped out, and back up to 5th. Well, I think when CJ went around Carl, I think that showed Rick Kriego something, and Rick Kriego kind of, almost did the same move. He kind of diamonded the corner off and got underneath us and drove by us down the straightaway. But, I think he saw that the top was working in 3 and 4 a little bit, and he was able to get a good run coming off, and got by us. And, from there on, we were, in cruise control, and, brought it home 6th. And it was so nice because we put the car on the lift at the shop, and there isn't a scratch on it.
Nice.
And that, yeah, and then, nothing for nothing. It's been a long time since that's happened.
Awesome. Well, I'll tell you, it was certainly a change, a welcome change to be able to say on opening night at Canandaigua that the Double Deuce Coupe was in attendance. That was awesome, man. That was great to see, and wish you guys a lot of luck the rest of the way here. But I'd be remiss if I didn't get some commentary on and thoughts on the rest of the night. So as I roll through the results here, let's do it like we used to do it, brother.
All right. Well, let me intervene real quick here. You're going to see us every Saturday night at the Land of Legends.
Perfect. I thought
Yep,
that's what the case was. Yeah.
Yep. We're going to run there every week, and Paul treats everybody really good, and we've liked going up there ever since. And the payback is a little better, and the pay at the end of the year is definitely a little better, and it's just something that Carl's wanted to do. He doesn't have many years left, so we thought we'd do something a little different.
Well, that's cool, man. It's a welcome addition for sure. Let's go to the top of the order here, and we'll get into some results from Saturday night. Pepsi Big Buck Modifieds kicking it off. Seneca Meadows and Jack Howell Properties night at the track, and Peter Britton got certainly started from the hammer and was able to bring it the whole way home. But he had different challengers from Justin Hares, who finished third, Matt Shepard, who finished second. And Clint, I was very intrigued by Shepard's comments after the race, because I think in years past, when Shepard shows up, a lot of fans might see him in the field and say, well, write the check, Shepard's here. And in years past, I think that typically held out true. But I got to say, the likes of Eric Rudolph, the likes of Hares, Britton, Alan Johnson, Kyle Coffey, Kevin Root, Justin Wright, Pat Ward, Matt Caprera filled out the top 10. A lot of these guys we mentioned in the top 5, Clint, they have stepped up their game to a level where, when Matt comes into town, it's not a given anymore.
No, absolutely not.
And that's not to take a single thing away from Matt Shepard. Shepard fans, don't get me wrong. That guy has dominated that place in his time.
Switchboard's lighting up over here, Steve.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. but I say that, and I, again, I'm not saying that offensively at all, but man, Peter, Justin, Eric, these guys have really, really stepped things up.
They really have, Steve. And I was watching Shepard come up through, and he had a really, really tough battle with Eric Rudolph. And I think that probably used a lot of his car up. I thought that he was making a little bit of ground on Britton, and I thought, well, here we go. Matt's gonna do some late race heroics and gonna run him down. And yeah, once Britton got to lap traffic, he was spot on. He got through those guys like a hot knife through butter, and Matt struggled with him. Matt caught him at all the wrong times, and he got to about half a straightaway of them, and then Britton just finished it off.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more there. It was interesting. We started something new on Saturday night, and as long as time allows us to do so on race night, we're going to hear from the top 3 on Land of Legends TV in Victory Lane, and I've wanted to do that for the longest time, because those guys that didn't get the win but they were right there, I've always wanted to hear that instant feedback of what were they thinking, what happened. Like Justin Hares was a great example. He was right on the knocking on the door of Britton before that one yellow came out. And then, as he said afterwards, my tires just didn't fire off like they did before. Because I thought Justin had the winning piece there Saturday. But you get a yellow flag, the tires go through a heat cycle, and then things changed.
Yep.
Rudolph, though, Clint, my goodness, dude starts 19th, gets all the way to 4th, and to your point, I think Rudolph was a perfect example of somebody that kind of had to use their stuff up just to get to the top 5, and it was a great finish for him to be able to stay there.
It's always nice to see Rudolph come down. I don't know if he's going to be full time this year. I love watching him race. He's clean, and he, like you said, he's an added asset. There is 10, 12 cars that can win any given night. I mean, Danny Johnson didn't finish in the top 10. He had trouble, but that's another car that's gonna fire off.
Yeah.
If they can keep their motor together, they're gonna be good. They're gonna be tough to beat. And I want to say before we move off for the big blocks, and I want to know your opinion on this. I was sitting there watching them, and Daniel Johnson.
Yeah,
he was on rails until that caution came out. He got up to 3rd, I believe, didn't he? Wasn't he right behind Ayers at the time?
Yeah, he got up to 3rd, and we had that restart, and it was maybe a lap into the restart, or maybe it was right on the restart. I think he went into 1 and 2, and he said the oil pressure dropped, and he had to pull off. I read that he posted that on social media after the race, but you're absolutely right. What a great call out there, because that was the run of Daniel Johnson's career. I mean,
yeah,
he got a heat win a year or 2 ago, and had a great car on that night. But his car on Saturday, that was the best run we've seen out of Daniel. He did not get the finish that he deserved out of it. Came home 19th in the final running order, but my goodness, what a run! If he can get things put back together, it's going to be fun to watch him. He took a huge step forward on Saturday.
I think that I was watching him on Race Monitor, and I think the lap before, they always run best before they blow, and I didn't blow it, but he lost oil pressure. He ran a lap that was 0.6 of a second faster than Britton.
Wow.
That particular lap, whether I don't know if Britton was in trouble, if he was in lap traffic or whatever, but I mean, that's how fast that was at that point in time.
Well, it was certainly a hell of a run for him. And hell of a run for Matt Caprara. Big block debut, got a small block win the night before at Can-Am, and comes home top 10. I mean, that's at Canandaigua, that's damn impressive.
It sure is. And I didn't realize who it was. I had to look on Race Monitor to see the 29 was, because I almost think that I thought it was Jordan McCready at first, because I think he drove a 29 there for the Super Dirt Series race there last year.
Okay.
And I thought it was, I'm not positive, but I thought it was him.
I know what you're 28. Yes. Yep.
28. Okay.
The Flax car. Yeah.
So, yes. So, yeah, I thought it was him originally, and I'm like, oh, a Caprara. God, I haven't heard that name in Canandaigua in a long time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had a nice conversation with him and Charlie in the trailer afterwards. We were reminiscing on some go-kart days when the Ovens boys and the Caprara boys were racing at Frozen Ocean. And, well, it's just, we used to get our tails whipped by the Caprara band. But I'll tell you, it was just like any driver will tell you today. They want to race against guys like Matt Shepard. They want to race against guys like Matt Williamson, because that's the bar, and that's what you are striving for. And so, we had some good times talking about them. Let's talk about another driver, Clint, that was having a good time on Saturday night. And I got to say, I think it was the surprise of the night. Cameron Tuttle comes down from Western New York and steals a win. I won't say steals a win. He was dominant, but he comes down and just put it to the field on Saturday night.
It was definitely unexpected when you got Matt Guerrieri running second. Usually he's hunting you down, when he gets into that spot, but he maintained a over a second lead and just didn't let them guys get closer to him. Now, is that his first ever win, or just, I know it's his first ever at Canandaigua.
First at Canandaigua. He's got some wins at Genesee. I believe he has at Ransomville as well. And I know he's won a championship at Genesee. So yeah, he's had some success at his home tracks, and he even admitted Saturday night, this is not a track that we've come to and had a whole lot of luck at. They've always been tuning on the setup, and just like we said in the big blocks, when you come down, to Canandaigua, you're going up against a stout field. I don't care what class you're in. But man, I mean, holy cow. And a huge win, dedicates the win to his grandfather, who he just lost a few months ago. And just a great story. Really, really cool story.
Oh, absolutely. I'm really happy for the young gentleman. He had a little help riding with him, and you have to love those stories, and just seeing the raw emotion in Victory Lane, it's pretty awesome.
No doubt. Cameron Tuttle gets the win. Matt Guerry finished second, clawed his way up through, got to second on a late race restart, but just didn't have quite enough to get to the 35 of Tuttle. James Henry was third, Tim Baker fourth, Nick Cooper rounded out the top five. I'm going to go out and say it right here on the podcast. I think Nick Cooper wins a race this year. I really do. I think he got so close last year, was within a lap or two. I think it was Sabaka that got by him for a win last year. I think this could be Nick Cooper's year to finally crack into victory lane in the Sportsman. So keep an eye on him. The aforementioned Zach Sabaka, our defending champion, was sixth. Frank Guerry Jr. was seventh. Nick Root eighth. Kane Bristol, who was very dominant in his heat race, couldn't quite make it up through with the redraw, finished ninth. And Mike Fowler, Fear the Beard, brought it home in position number 10. That was the Sterling Lubricant Sportsman. Moving on to the mighty Boba 305 Sprints, and this was another dandy, Clint. Bobby Perro, new car, new smoke under the hood, and same old ESS Hall of Famer. Got the win after a great battle with Darryl Ruggles. And I got to say, for Darryl coming home second, what a bounce back effort after just a terrible off season. Went through, that terrible accident at his shop, and he has worked all the way back to be back behind the wheel. And he's not just back behind the wheel. He's competitive. He was leading that race at several points during the race.
Yeah, we stood there to the driver's meeting, and I looked over and saw Darryl, and I thought, man, what somebody that's had such a terrible off season, and fighting through what he's had to fight through, and be that competitive and lead laps, and what more can you say? I mean, that was just it was just great. It was good to see. There's nothing really I can say about it. I'm pleased that he's still able to race, and to see that he's racing at that kind of capacity is just awesome on the first night.
Something that I think will be interesting to note, and and I don't know necessarily what Bobby's schedule is going to be this year, but Bobby Perro has always, the last couple seasons, they have always come out of the box strong. The key is going to be, can they sustain it throughout the course of the season? We've seen it, the last couple years in a row. They get off to a hot start, and then we get to the dog days of summer, and we get down toward championship night, and then things just, whether it's bad luck or mechanical or whatever, they have just struggled from mid-season on. So, no surprise to see Bobby Perro in victory lane on opening night. But the key for them, I think, will be to see, can they keep this going? So he'll certainly be one of the favorites this weekend when the CRSA sprints come to town. So keep an eye on those new colors and new number. Well, an old but new number.
Yep. The old now is that his own car, or is that a Fletcher car still?
So that is a great question. I know that I've seen Tommy there in the pits. I don't know the full details of how the race team's made up right now. That's a good question. I will ask that question this weekend. But I do know that they got some marketing support on board that has been a big part of what they're doing this year. He's got a new Shaw car. That car builder, he only puts out so many cars a year. It's very, very limited. But that's all Bobby's ever driven when it comes to sprint cars. So they kind of have that advantage of they're one of those cars out in the field that not a lot of other guys have, if anybody in the field has. So that's interesting. It's an interesting note on them. Jordan Hutton brought the 66 home in third. Trevor Years was fourth, and Kyle Pierce had a great night to bring it home in the top five. Nathan Pierce out of Troy, PA, was sixth. James Layton seventh. Adam Depew, his first ever competitive race in a 305, brought it home in eighth. Dylan Paddock was ninth, a rookie. And the straight shooter, Scott Kruder, in one of the Warner cars, brought it home in the top 10. So that was the 305 sprints.
Did you say Adam Depew?
I sure did.
I did not know that. That's great info.
Yeah. So Adam, I actually had him on the podcast a few weeks ago because I saw a picture pop up on the racing page of a sprint car. He still has the street stock. Sounds like they're actually taking the street stock to the first Empire Street Stock Series show at Genesee next week. So they still have the street stock that they're going to play around with, but yeah, 305 sprint now for Adam.
Oh, that's great. That's a big move, and that's all right. That's pretty cool.
Moving right along here, we kind of started touching on the street stocks, but we'll get right back into it here. Eldridge and Son Scrap Recycling street stocks, and this was a hell of a finish. Jimmy Grant brings home the win, but I don't think that as a race fan, and certainly me not as an announcer, you couldn't have been disappointed with whoever won that race, because that was a great battle at the end. Jimmy just does what he does in that diamond line that he runs in turn 1 and 2, and was just kind of chipping away at it. And, Clint, I know you were probably focused on watching the 22, but I felt like Mike Welch was he was the race leader, but I felt like this was one of those races where you didn't necessarily want to be the race leader, because, the second place car had the advantage of being able to move around, go where you're not. And I almost think that Jimmy kind of picked up on something, in those closing laps that, the leader didn't have the benefit of being able to see.
Yeah, for sure. I also think that, and you have to check with Mike this week, I almost think that he hit the Uke tire that they pushed out in 1 and 2. And I think it really messed up the towing on the car, so he couldn't get through the corners as well as he did at the beginning.
Oh, okay. I hadn't seen that. Okay.
I mean, he was still fast, but you can't have any sort of a hiccup in your car if you got Jimmy running second. You just can't.
Well, that would make a lot of sense, because, man, he was fighting a tight race car in 3 and 4. Like, that thing just turned evil down in 3, like from the center off. Like, when he hit the apex of the corner, that thing was going to the top of the racetrack. And it seemed like, Mike, the veteran that he is, like, you could see he was like, he was doing whatever he could try to do to try to hustle that thing through, and it hit the apex, and man, it was going up to the top. So
Yep,
that makes a lot of sense.
Yep, I think with these cars, geometry is so big, and I think when the car unloaded in the middle of the turn and he was getting back to the throttle, it just had so much left rear bite, and with the toe out the way it was, the right front of the car wasn't pinched down anymore and letting him turn. I not saying Jimmy wouldn't have got him anyway, but I think that he had some damage, and you'll have to double check with him this week.
Yeah, no, that's a great call. I hadn't seen that, so you'll have to check with Mike on that for sure. I mean, these two guys here, they're going to be one of the two, out of the 5 cars that you're going to have to go through, if you want to win the street stock title there for sure.
It's going to be, Jimmy Welch. I don't know if Josh is running every week, but he lost a motor there in the heat, and so he's going to be up front. Prigo is super fast. Axel will sneak up on you. It's a good class. I mean, obviously you've got 4 that are going to be really tough every week, but there's some sleepers there too.
Don't forget about the old snake in the weeds, Carl Johnson. 4 wins,
right.
4 wins last year, and he finishes.
You're right.
He finishes 3rd in that race, Clint. But that was a Carl Johnson kind of race, man. He was there in the top 5 almost all night long. Had the top 2 had an issue, he'd have been right there. But he was kind of the last one that got to the front out of those 3 cars. So he's going to be one to watch too, man. They got that new car to start the year last year, and it's a whole new ball game for them for sure.
For sure, you're absolutely right.
Yep, CJ Guerry, Rick Kriego, the top 5. That old double deuce coupe, that bright yellow. And by the way, I gotta say, kudos to Jungle Jim. That new yellow body is looking fresh, man.
That's probably the nicest looking car that we've had. Maybe since I started helping him in 2009. Jim did a great job. It looks, in that yellow with the blue lettering, it looks clean. It's nothing fancy. I wanted to see a little more color on it, but I lost that. So, but it looks great, and Doug Smith got the numbers for us from Pilot, and they just make the car pop with the baby blue lettering that Jeff Plugstone and his wife did. So it was really good.
Patrick Hobbs, Mark Manutlo, John Burrett, Mike Fellows rounded out the top 10 in the street stocks. The Lloyd's Contracting Hobby Stocks for their 15 lapper. Another great battle. Tyler Burnell gets the win, but Mark Manutlo kept him honest. There's no doubt about that. They were wheel to wheel for almost the entire final lap until Burnell was able to squeak by in the last 25 yards of the race to take the checkered flag. But what a great battle in the hobby stocks we had Saturday night.
Oh, it was fantastic. It was, I think Tyler pinched Mark down just enough. They were going through 3 and 4 that Mark couldn't let the car swing out. So, Tyler had a good run off the turn, like you said. And, poor Mark. He had Marky Mark in the second place bunch this weekend.
Yeah. I know how bad he wanted to change that on Saturday.
Yeah, heartbreaker loss on Friday night at Outlaw.
Nate Peckham had a great view of it. Couldn't do a thing about it, but had a great view running from 3rd. Justin Eldridge was 4th, and Bubba Burnell, boy, he had an up and down night. Started up front, battling with Tyler for the race lead, and I still don't know what happened to his car. He looked like he was going to go nose first into the turn 4 concrete. He was able to refire it, shake it down. Everything was fine. He came back for fifth place finish, but that's going to be one of those races you might look at the end of the year and say that was one that got away from us, because Bubba was quick on Saturday. 6 through 10 was Danny Carrick, Brian Lloyd, Brighton Grant, Scott Mack, and Dan Corpani. Any other thoughts on the hobby stocks there?
There was battles throughout the field. Yes, Mark and Tyler were out front. Nate was not far behind them, but Danny Carrick had a good race with Tyler, or with Bubba Burnell, and there was another. Who was the other guy that finished?
So we had Justin Eldridge, Bubba, Danny Carrick, Brian Lloyd.
Brian Lloyd, yes.
Yeah, Brian was right there in the thick of it too. I think he had a better car than a seventh place finish, but I like I said, the competition level is pretty stout with these hobby stock guys. So, you can have a top three car and come home seventh.
The one little slip up, and that's all it's going to take.
And then we wrap it up here with the McGuire Ford of Canandaigua New Legend Sportsman. And how about Angel Sparing? I'm sure the smile has still not left her face. First checkered flag in the New Legend Sportsman division. They made a huge change to go from the bar car to the coilover package. And, they made a point to get out to the open practice session so that she could get some laps and get some confidence in everything that was new on that car. And boy, it paid off. It was setting up to be an incredible finish. Yes. Kennedy Payne, I felt so bad for Kennedy. Me too. And Clint, I wrote this to her after the race on Saturday. I said, the last 5 laps of that feature were probably the fastest and the best 5 laps that I've seen Kennedy run in a sportsman car. And, I said, keep your head down, stick with it. You're going to be just fine. You keep putting laps like that together, you're going to be just fine. I know that they've got a torn up race car they got to fix up this week, but, the whole Payne crew are going to go to work on that. And I have no doubts we'll see Kennedy back out there and back out there competing, to get her first win too. So, but that was a great race at the end. It really was.
I think that it was one of those things that, the laps were winding down, and I think Kennedy drove it in real hard to 3 and 4 there, maybe with 2 to go, and it stuck.
Yeah.
And she made up so much ground, and she went to do the same thing in 1 and 2 there. And boy, that old Ute tire, the Tory tire there.
Yeah.
It that was a hard hit. I was concerned because, if you have just for some reason have your hand in the wrong spot and you hit something like that and it turns the wheel, it's just, and I was talking to CJ about it, and I asked CJ if he saw it, and he goes, I didn't see it, Dad. He goes, but I heard it.
Yeah.
And that's serious. When there's racing going on and everything, and it quiets that fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's never good.
No. Bruce Batesel and his team car, Brad Sawyer, finished second, third. Kennedy brought it home in fourth. Dylan Adamczak had an issue right off the drop of the green flag, had to drop out early in the 55 car, but pretty good action there for the New Legend Sportsman. And like I said, I think we're going to add some new winners to the winners list in the New Legend Sportsman this year. There's no doubt about it. So that wraps up the results from Saturday night. Coming up this week, Averdie Storage Containers presents the CRSA Sprints, along with the Big Block Modifieds, Sportsman, Street Stock, Hobby Stock, and New Legend Sportsman. Man, Clint, I cannot believe how long we went here. It was like the old days, man. The only thing we're missing tonight is Brad tapping his watch, saying, come on, boys, come on.
Let's wrap it up, yeah. Oh,
he still is.
He's looking down right now going, yeah, you guys are laughing about it, but here I am. I'm surprised there's not lightning coming out of the clear sky tonight. Just
Yeah.
just to tell us to keep on track here.
I'm going to make sure I hit save after we're done recording here so that,
Oh my God.
how many times did we do that? Record a whole 2-hour podcast only to have it get deleted by mistake. And
oh yeah. When we first started off and using using that platform that, was just a basic platform. If you didn't have it just right, if you or Brad just had for one slip up, it was just a text message away from expletives.
absolutely. Hey man, this was a lot of fun. We'll be sure to do this again. I'm stoked that you guys are coming over and racing with us each week. So you're going to see just as much of the action as we do. And by the way, we appreciate we appreciate CJ being a part of the team too. It's hard to believe that the young man is starting his second year with us on the production team and making a big impact. I know this past Saturday we had some graphic issues that made it a little bit more of a boring night for him than he was expecting, but it's cool to see the young people that are interested. We've got another young person that does a lot of iRacing broadcasts that's coming out to fill CJ's shoes while he's out enjoying the prom and being a high school student. And I love that. But it's so fun to see the young people that are interested in this stuff and want to be a part of it. It really, helps make the whole thing go around.
I tell you, he really loves it, Steve. He loves the team over there. And, that's all I heard, when the rainouts were, I'd get text messages in the morning. Is this rain going to go away, Dad? I don't think so, bud. Not tonight. He goes, expletive, if we forgot to save it. But he, you guys have been so good to him, and Paul was so good to him last year, helped him out and showed how much he appreciated CJ's help. And, Paul's always been good for thank yous to go a long way. And that sits big with us. We're try to be a polite family and try to do things the right way. So seeing that really helped out.
Good deal. Well, so we're recording this on Thursday night. How we looking with the car? Are we ready to go?
Oh, it's all ready to go. It's all tucked in, and we made some adjustments to it and put some new things on it, and hope we can get it to go down the straightaway this week. All
right, man. Well, just remember, at the end of the straightaway, there's 2 more corners to come.
Yeah, it's going to screw everything all up.
Hey, man, this was a lot of fun. We got to do this again.
And you know what? Anytime, man. You just give me the word, give me a text, and I miss this. This is awesome.
Yeah. Oh, this is a good time. We're getting back together. We're getting the band back together tonight here on the Where Legends Are Made podcast. That's Clint Miller. Clint, appreciate the time as always, buddy.
All right, Steven, no problem, man. Thank you for having me.
All right, fans. Coming up next, we will have Mia from Malta Minutes with Mia at Albany-Saratoga Speedway. It's a new segment here on Where Legends Are Made. Stick around. We've got that for you next here, and then we'll wrap up the show.
By the grace of God and 800 horsepower, it's time for the A-Main interview of the week.
Welcome back, fans, to the Where Legends Are Made podcast, the official podcast of Land of Legends Raceway. And we're bringing you a new segment that we're starting, and that is reaching out to some of our friends from fellow dirt car tracks. We're all one big dirt car family. And we wanted to take a segment to let our fans know. We know there's a lot of our fans that enjoy races at other places, be it on a Saturday or be it on a Friday or Sunday, whenever. And so we wanted to, try something new, reach out to some of our friends at other DIRTcar member tracks and see what's going on and give you a little insight if you've never been to some of these places before, to go out and give them a try. So we have got Mia on the line with us from Albany-Saratoga Speedway. Mia, I appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into talking, the racing and what's going on at Albany-Saratoga, I always love hearing everybody's story of how they got started, how they got interested in racing. Everybody's got a unique story, and interested to hear yours.
Well, yeah, I would say mine is unique because I feel like a lot of people get into racing from the racing side of things. And I was introduced to it by Lyle, my father, who is the promoter of Albany-Saratoga. And so I started working at the track when I was 14, selling snow cones. And I was trying to think today how I kind of got into doing lives and then how that led to announcing. But I can't really remember why. But my role kind of slowly evolved the older that I got at the Speedway. And I started doing Facebook Lives. I believe I started doing them as interviews, and then that turned into interviews on the front stretch and doing the lives just to promote the events that were happening that night, just saying stuff like what the admission is to get in and what the weather's like and what's going on at the Speedway. And then I did interviews for a while until Mike Warren, he had his job. He was kind of spotty on when he could come announce for us. So that's when I started doing Victory Lane interviews. And then when he left us to go to the Dirt Series, I started doing that full time.
How do you recall, was it something that you wanted to do? Did somebody approach you about doing the live videos? Because those really took off and have been quite popular and quite informative for the fans, whether they're a loyal weekly fan or somebody that drops in a handful of times a year.
I know. It always just completely impresses me when the people say hello and they say where they're watching from, and it's all over. It's even been outside of our country and definitely outside of our states. It blows my mind. But I believe it was a mixture of Dan Martin and Lyle that approached me on it. It's actually completely outside of my comfort zone. If you know me, I'm not overly talkative. I like to listen. I don't like to talk a lot. So it was definitely completely outside of my comfort zone, which isn't always a bad thing. And they kind of brought it up. I was young. I said yes. And from there, it's turned into something pretty big.
It has. And, doing video anything can be a little bit intimidating, but now you've taken that one step further and doing victory lanes, that's got to, take some of that nerves to a whole new level.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very comfortable with the lives now, but also at the same time, even though lots of people are watching, I'm not speaking to anyone. I'm alone by myself. But definitely, I think I've been doing victory lanes for 3 years, and it's still nerve-wracking, but it's starting to get more comfortable. But definitely it stresses me out every time about saying the right thing and doing the right thing and making sure that it's a good interview for the drivers and entertaining for the crowd. And yeah, all of it is definitely, I get nervous over all of it.
What's your favorite part about doing victory lane?
I really like to see the reactions when they're really excited, especially some of the younger kids. Their excitement is always on a different level. And when I get that feedback from them, when they're really excited and they have all of that, energy built up and they just can't believe that they're down there, that really just kind of fuels my soul. It makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing. And it definitely, the crowd can see it too, which is incredible.
I can speak from experience. I don't cover victory lane anymore, but man, a first time winner in victory lane, there's no other experience as an announcer or, anybody doing media type stuff at the track. There's nothing like doing an interview for that first time winner.
I know, for sure. They make me laugh. They make you excited. It's just a happy time to be there.
Absolutely. Talking about, some of the roles that you've covered there, it's such an important piece, and I'm talking, about the information that you provide on your videos and things like that. It's, content, I've called content a monster, and the more you feed the monster, the more it grows, and the more content people enjoy and want more of. How is sometimes that can be difficult to manage. What's your experience on that?
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you completely. The more you give, the more they want. People definitely look forward to it weekly, and they rely on it for their information. So, it's stressful if you say the wrong thing or you do the wrong thing. But at the end of the day, I'm providing information for a grand amount of people, and I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to do it for the Speedway.
Tell us about some upcoming events that are coming up on the Albany-Saratoga schedule. You guys kicked off the season in a great way. Had some awesome races. I know this past weekend, had some weather issues, which boy, it seems like we've all had our own weather issues at one point or another here in this spring, but have had some really good action on track so far.
I know our opening night was just insane with the amount of people and the amount of cars. It was just such a great night of racing. And it has stayed true to that. We've had a lot of racers coming from especially Central and Western New York, a lot of outsiders, and we've been super stoked about that. But so coming up, I mean, we have a $4,000 to win modified feature coming up in 2 weeks, the 19th. Of course, we always have our Super Dirt Car Series. That's on Tuesday, June 13th. It's called the Super Dirt Series Summer Starter 71. We have our Multimassive weekend, of course, at the end of the season, which is one of our biggest events. Right before that, we have our $10,000 to win Pro Stock Autism Awareness Race. There's a $4,000 to win modified feature August 18th. We have ESS sprints coming to us twice this year, Friday, June 2nd, and Friday, July 21st. Stand the Man Night is that following week, Friday, July 28th. That's $3,200 to win modified feature event. Just a lot of high-paying races, big events. We're so grateful for our sponsors. We've had a lot of great sponsors come on board with us, especially this year, to help make some incredible races for our racers and our fans.
Absolutely. I spoke to a friend of mine that goes to races as a fan, loves it, went to Albany on your opening night for the first time. And they said, obviously everybody there is just, loves the racing, obviously, but he said that the atmosphere at Albany-Saratoga is just something special. From your perspective, what is that? What is created such a great atmosphere? Because everybody that is a loyal Albany-Saratoga fan or that goes there for the first time, I feel like I always hear the same things. They talk about the atmosphere and obviously it makes them want to go back for more.
Well, Albany-Saratoga comes from a family backing. It's majorly Lyle and my mother, and then myself. And I feel like alongside of our officials and our employees that are just great, we've tried to really create just a positive place. Albany-Saratoga is just rich in history for years, well before us. And so it's always been a great place for racing. And I feel like we just kind of built upon that and created, we really just want to create like a happy, positive environment that you come to escape, come on a Friday night to come have fun, bring your family, bring your friends, hang out, watch the races, maybe drink a beer and just have fun. I know I tell my friends outside of racing all the time, I'm like, come to the races. It's a lot of fun just to sit in the stands, watch it. It's entertaining, even if you just do it once a year.
I've also always been intrigued, getting to new tracks, when I'm able to. I'm always interested, like, what's the go-to item at every particular track? And each track seems to have their own thing. They have all the standards, the hot dogs, hamburgers, all that stuff. But each track kind of has their own little thing that their fans will tell you to go to first. What is that thing at Albany that fans, if they come out, they come out for the first time or they come back for the first time in a long time, what is that one signature item that people are going to point them to?
Well, we do have the fresh cut French fries, which are always good. Lebanon has those as well. But I'm going to go with the sausage grinder, the sausage, peppers, and onion sandwich. I feel like that's the one thing that I always hear people talk about and rave about and are always getting.
Nice. All right, there you go. There you have it. If you're going to Albany, check out the sausage grinder. Like I said, each track has got that, that one certain thing that is kind of like their claim to fame. It's always fun to hear what that is at each different place. Mia, tell us about where fans can follow along if they're not already, and is I'm gonna make sure I say this right. The Malta Minutes with Mia, is that typically always on Fridays?
Yes. Depending on the event and the week, I will go live. Sometimes earlier in the week. Sometimes I catch Lyle Thursday nights. We go live while he's doing the track, and sometimes I do it randomly earlier in the week, especially if there's a special event going on. But Friday nights, I usually try to do it sometime around 3 or 4 o'clock. I don't have a set time because I do work, so it goes around my work schedule. But and then also, as long as I can, I try to go live also after the races to update on who the feature event winners were.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time today. I want to close with one last question, and that is, everybody is really, gotten to know you through racing, and through all of your great work there at Albany-Saratoga. What's one fun fact about Mia outside of the racetrack?
I'm a hair and makeup artist. I do mostly bridal hair and makeup, but then outside of that, I do just hairstyling and makeup application. I own my own business. I have since I was 18. And so that's actually my passion. That's my thing. So I feel like racing is Lyle's thing, and he's made it a family thing with both my mom and I. And like, that's my thing outside of it that I just love and thrive in and work at a weekly basis.
That makes for busy weekends, huh?
Yeah, very busy weekends. I do weddings usually on Friday mornings, and then wherever I am in New York or outside of New York, I will drive to the track, do the races. When we're done at the races, I book it home immediately, get a shower, and get up the next morning and head to a wedding early.
Isn't that the thing though? Most people, they work hard all week long, and the weekend is their R&R time. Our weekends start and the work is just starting.
I was going to say it's quite opposite for me. That's why I was available today, because my weekdays are pretty free, but my weekends are just jam-packed. Lyle always says that he thinks I'm one of the most unique people in racing because I go from one opposite side of the spectrum to the other, where I'm doing, high-end hair and makeup, and then I go from that to getting dirty at a racetrack.
Awesome. Hey, I appreciate the time to catch up this week and kind of get some of the flavor of Albany-Saratoga. And, we're big fans, love watching on Dirt Track Digest TV to keep up on what's going on. And Albany is very high on my list. I have not been able to get to one yet at Albany, but it is very high on my list. Big Dan Martin fan, have had the chance to meet him a couple times. And can't wait to get out there and do that. But we appreciate your time on this new segment that we're starting, and we'll be watching from afar. That's for sure.
No, thank you again for having me.
Absolutely. All right, folks, there's Mia from Albany-Saratoga Speedway. Again, check them out on Facebook as well as online. She just ran down some of the upcoming events that they have. And like we said, get out to a DIRTcar member track. We're all but one big DIRTcar family.
Land of Legends Raceway fans, tune in each and every week of the racing season to Where Legends Are Made, a podcast dedicated to covering the drama, excitement, and hear from the drivers from your favorite dirt track. Stephen Ovens and Brad Ovens walk you through the week that was Where Legends Are Made. Subscribe on Apple or Google Podcasts and visit landoflegendspodcast.com.
Fans of Land of Legends Raceway and the Where Legends Are Made podcast, we've got a great opportunity for you to feature your business We have opportunities here to sponsor Where Legends Are Made. We have all different features of the podcast. You can pick to be a sponsor of one of our heat races. Maybe you want your business name attached to the top 10 read-offs for the week. Maybe you want your business to be the one that's heard when we play our highlight of the week. Maybe you're a history buff. You want to sponsor Heat 3, where we talk about this week in Land of Legends Raceway history. Maybe you want to be the main sponsor. So when we interview our main driver of the week, you want to get your business out in front of that. We've got plenty of opportunities for you to do so, and we can work inside of any budget. And believe me, if you're listening to this and you're saying, oh, I don't think my business has the advertising budget to sponsor a podcast, believe me, we can fit inside of anybody's advertising budget. Get your business a little bit of advertising here on Where Legends Are Made. Contact us right here on the Land of Legends Raceway Facebook page if you're interested, and put your business in front of all of our fans where legends are made.